Hello, how is everybody today? Let me just make sure that I am live. And it looks like we are good to go. All right. So good afternoon. At least it's afternoon here in my neck of the woods. Good morning to some of you folks. My name is Carol Buckalew with Inky Stampers, and I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. I have a pretty little card here today, a fun fold, and I'm calling this an offset gatefold card. Hey Mary, thanks so much for joining. And I'm calling it an offset gatefold because one gate is wider than the other. And we've got lots of pretty designer series paper on this card. This card was designed for the Happy Ink and Thursday blog hop, which is tomorrow. And I needed one side of this card to be a little wider than another once I'd made the decision to make a fun fold. So that's what I came up with. And the products that I used, and I'm calling this the Delightfully Eclectic fun fold because I use the Delightfully Eclectic Designer Series paper. Hi Faith, thanks so much for joining. And this paper is just a huge pack of paper and lots of really fun designs in this pack. This is my second pack. I'm not quite through the first one, but it's in bits and pieces. But just a really large pack of paper, 48 sheets, and lots of designs, lots of colors that you can choose from. And so that is fun. I also use the Timeless Arrangements bundle, the dies, and the stamp set on this card. Also used some of the Vellum Basics 12x12 Specialty Designer Series paper. And there is a Designer Series paper sale going on right now. You can get 15% off of select papers. I forget exactly how many are on sale. I want to say 12, 14, something like that. But you can grab the details on my website at inkybstampers.com. For that information, I definitely have it out there for you. So let's start and get a little bit of stamping done. And there's actually not too much stamping on this card. I cut out for my little sentiment label just a piece of basic white. And this was there are 3 different sentiment labels in the Timeless Arrangement dies. I use this kind of middle one. And these dies cut out a pretty little punched border. And then in the centers of each side, there's a little X. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but super sweet. Kind of reminds me of like cross stitch, but just so cute. So we're going to go ahead and get our sentiment stamped up, and I'm going to stamp that sentiment in Fresh Freesia ink. And just the simple sentiment, thanks. And hopefully I can stamp this straight. We'll give it a whirl here. And that looks good to me. All right, so that is our sentiment label. I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. And this is our inside panel for the inside of the card. And there are 2 kind of berry, they look like berries to me, but there's one shorter, one longer. And that's what I'm using. And I believe, let me just peek at my card. Yeah, the long one, I stamped in Fresh Freesia, so let me go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna just stamp this here in the corners of my card a couple of times. So we have major hazy skies right now from the wildfires in Canada. It's the smoke is continuing to come down. It's actually gotten worse. Those poor people in Canada. I think I heard there's something like 4 wildfires out of control. You know what? I got a little smudge of ink over here. I'm going to just flip this panel over and start over. And hopefully I don't do that again. I don't know how I did that. Just getting the creases here out of my paper. I guess a bone folder would work better for that. Yeah, but the smoke is actually pretty thick. You can smell it. And, you know, you'll hear a plane overhead, but you don't see it. It's so thick. Just cleaning off my stamp there. So I don't get more ink where I don't want it. Try this again. There we go. Yeah, but it is really something. I mean, the sun rises as just an orange little ball. And, you know, I'm not in an area where we normally get wildfires and smoke from wildfires. So it's all kind of been strange. It is pretty yucky, Mary. If you breathe with your mouth open, it actually makes your throat sore. Oh, you know what? Let me stamp on the other side of this. Yeah, I know that you get your share of wildfires where you are, Faith, and my sympathy goes out to anybody that has to deal with that. We've been on and off now. It's been a couple of weeks, actually. Before, I noticed it before, and I didn't know what it was, but I noticed it before they actually even started reporting, you know, on the smoke haze in our area. And, yeah, I just feel bad for anybody that has to deal with that on a regular basis. I know the last time that we were in Florida, we went to, gosh, when we took the kids to Disney World, they were having wildfires, and that was pretty bad. And I'm just going to stamp this here on my envelope front as well, just a couple of times. And then I'm going to come back in with the smaller of these little berry vines and close up my Fresh Freesia ink, and I'll get the Memento ink out. Actually, Mary, I saw a news report that they're expecting smoke to reach central Georgia by tomorrow. So you may be dealing with it as well, unfortunately. I think I need to re-ink my Memento up here. Starting to get a little light. And I'll just stamp this one more time here in the corner. And that is our envelope, so that'll be ready to go. And let me get the inside panel as well. And then we can start putting the card together. Yeah, but the Delightfully Eclectic, I have been using that paper a lot. I just love it so much. The designs, you know, there's pretty designs, there's kind of whimsical designs. So something really for everyone. And of course, the paper is, you know, has a design on one side, and then the other side, a design as well. So you really can stretch it out for sure. And the 15% off right now is just a really great bargain. I am having a time with my ink here today. I just got another splotch of ink. But you know what? I'm going to try and fix that up later rather than redo it. It happens. It happens sometimes. Yeah, and the smoke is going as far as the Midwest. As far as like St. Louis, I think. Which is just absolutely crazy. I just never heard of such a thing. The jet stream is carrying the smoke down. I'm going to set that panel aside to dry for a moment, and hopefully I can fix my ink mistakes without too much trouble. Let me see here, trying to sort my pieces. I put my pieces together with some Post-it tape just so I would know what belongs where. So when I cut this designer series paper, I wanted the pattern of the paper to continue from one side of the gate to the other. That's why I've been keeping these pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead and get these pieces glued up to the outside of my card. And by the way, this is a basic black card base. It measures 8.5 by 5.5. And I basically determined, for these measurements, I determined how wide I wanted this left gate to be, right? This one right here. And then I measured 4¼ inches over, and that determined where the second score line would be. So this is scored on the long side at 1 3/4 and 6 inches. So it's pretty easy. All right, let's get the designer. Hey, Tara, you like gatefolds? I do too. I'm calling this an offset gatefold. I don't know if such a thing exists, but that's what I'm calling this one. And like I mentioned, I want my designer series paper to, you know, I want the pattern to match from one side to the other. And I'm just trying to make sure that I have an equal reveal top to bottom. And on the left edge there, that looks pretty good. And we'll put this one over here. So thanks for joining, Tara. I appreciate it. I was just telling everybody about all the smoke we have. I don't know if you've got smoke in your neck of the woods, Tara, from the wildfires in Canada, but it's pretty bad here. I mean, you can smell the smoke. You can, you know, it chokes you up a bit when you're outside. So you don't really want to be outside for too long. Okay, so those are our front panels. And then I have a piece of the diagonal striped vellum. And this piece of vellum is going to sit on the right gate and flush with the left edge of the DSP that I just put down. Now, but before I put that down, let me get these other two pieces of DSP put in on the inside of the card. And then I'll work on my little hexagon that I need to create. And I bet you I didn't write down. I'm going to have to, oh, I think I remember. Never mind. Never mind. All right. So I'm just going to open up my card here, and we'll go ahead and get these pieces put down. I just thought, you know, with the black card base, it just was very stark. And I thought the DSP on the inside would be very pretty, and I think it is. And just making sure I have a good reveal there. I want to make sure that that's not interfering with my hinge on that side. And we'll get this other, oh, you're too far south. Well, it has gone like as far as St. Louis, apparently. And it's going to be worse tomorrow. So you may see some hazy skies and orange moons and orange suns and crazy, crazy. Yes, the paper is on sale, and I just love this paper. This is like one of my favorite packs of paper, I think. Of course, they're all pretty, but I really do like this pack of paper. Scooch it over just a tad there if I can. All right, that's good. And let me get the inside panel on, and I'm going to have to fix that little smudge of ink there. Hopefully, I have a sand eraser, and I will use that to hopefully lift that little ink spot off. And with the black card base, it's kind of hard to see where your folds are. There we go. All right. Okay, so what I have here is another piece of black cardstock, and this measures 2.5 inches by 5 inches. And then I have a piece of the DSP, and I'm actually going to use the black and white side of this DSP for the purposes of this card. And this DSP, if I hold the black over it, is just slightly larger than my black rectangle. And I'll share with you why here in a moment. But what I need to do is I'm going to grab a pencil and my ruler, and I want to mark the short edges. I want to mark the center of each of those short edges, which would be 1¼ inches. And hopefully I'll be able to see my pencil on here after I mark it. And I'll mark both of those short edges at 1¼ And this is to make our hexagon. And then on the long sides, on each long side, both up and down, I am going to make a little mark at 1½ inches. And let me see here. One and a half, and then 1½ over here. And then I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in. And I'll be cutting from the lining up these marks on my paper trimmer from the center of the short edge down to my 1½ inch mark on each side. So essentially I'm cutting the corners off here. And let me grab my paper trimmer real quick. And because our paper trimmers have a groove on them, they have this, this darker groove. If you line those marks up on that groove, you could go ahead and cut right on your marks. And line this one up. The only problem is that my hands get in the way. Try that again. There we go. That should be good. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. Take your scissors and tidy up if you need to. And one more corner will do it. Okay, so now we have our hexagon, and I can see, I think I said this last week and I didn't do anything about it, my blade is getting dull in my paper trimmer, and so I get these little paper fuzzies. So I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of clean those up real quick here. Can't have paper fuzzies. No paper fuzzies on the card. I think that's good. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of flip this over. I am going to glue this onto my DSP. And then I'm going to just take my scissors. I figured this was the easiest way. I actually tried cutting the DSP hexagon. And, if you're not exactly precise, it didn't work out real great. And so I thought, well, it's easy enough just to snip paper away. So that's what I came up with. I'm just going to go ahead and I am trying to make sure that the edge is straight. Hopefully the pattern will look good. Once I cut this away. So that will be the front. And I'm just going to take my paper snips and just go ahead and trim this around. Easy, easy. This is kind of the easiest fussy cutting that you'll ever do. As long as you get the throat of the scissors lined up, it's, you know, it's not hard to trim this straight. There we go. Stampin' Up! Also has right now a Starter Kit Plus promotion where you can join Stampin' Up! During the month of June. You pay $99 for your starter kit, and you get $155 in products in your starter kit. Plus your starter kit ships for free. So that is a pretty awesome deal right now going on. All right. So the reason I waited to put this piece of, okay, Tara, thanks so much for stopping and appreciate it. The reason I waited to put this piece of vellum on, so as you probably know, you don't like adhesives to show through vellum because it will show through. So what I'm doing here is, and I apologize that the bottom of my card might be a little off screen. I'm putting the vellum in place. I am kind of eyeballing where my hexagon is going to go, and I'm shoving it over just a tad here. I'm going to draw very, very lightly on my piece of vellum. That will give me a guideline of where I can put my glue so that it will not show once I adhere that hexagon. And I'm just kind of going between those light pencil lines, and that should do it. And then I'm going to line this up on the right gate on the left edge of the DSP. Line that right up. And just give that a nice press down. And you may not be able to see it, but you definitely see the glue through the vellum. So that is why I like to kind of give myself a guideline. I'm going to line this card up again on my grid paper, and I'm going to adhere this hexagon in the center of my card, top to bottom and left to right. And I'm again going to give myself just a little guideline, right? Which is basically the center point. I don't want to go much past that center point with my glue when adhering this down. And we'll flip it over this way. Want to make sure I don't glue my card shut. And let me get this line back up again. And I want my points on my hexagon to line up with the center of the card. And I'm just using this center line here to help guide me. And we'll give that a good press down. All right. So far, so good. Our sentiment label, I have pre-die cut a few pieces from the Timeless Arrangements dies. I've got one in Fresh Freesia, and I've got two little sprigs here. You probably won't be able to see them very well, but these are cut from the vellum that I'm using on the card front. And the great thing about the Timeless Arrangements is that it, these little flower sprigs, not all of them, but a lot of them, come with this little bar. And the whole purpose of that bar is that it will fit very nicely behind your sentiment label. So let's go ahead and get that glued up. That was so nice of Tara to join when she's at work. Good grief. That was unexpected. Very nice of her. All right. So I've got that glued up, and I'm going to go ahead and just fill in with these little sprigs cut from the vellum. I think I'll put one right there. And put one right there. And this one I'm going to push in front of the fresh freesia flower, or berries, I guess they're berries. All right, and we can adhere the sentiment label with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I like to cut my Stampin' Dimensionals in half. I wasn't always a fan, but I got converted because they really do fit nicely in spaces. Let's do one there, and let's do one there. I think that should be enough to hold it. There's also some, there's going to be some new online exclusives added to the online store beginning on July 6th. And I do have a flyer showing those online exclusives. I'm going to place my sentiment label kind of between the vellum and the card edge here on the right. And I just want to bring that down a bit. Whoops. And make sure that my sentiment is somewhat straight. Let's see if I got that straight. That looks pretty good to me. All right, we are almost done here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the classic matte dots, and I'm going to put some black dots here on the upper portion of my card here on the right, on top of the vellum, and we'll grab a large one and a couple small ones. Oops. There we go, but there's our card done. Yeah, the dies on the timeless arrangements really are pretty cool. So that is the inside of our card, lots of pretty DSP and some pretty stamped berries, and then as well as the outside of the card. Okay, envelope, and then we are all done. Well, thank you, appreciate it. Alrighty, there we go. Oh, and we are also in a, you know, risk of fire danger. We have not had any measurable rain in weeks. Weeks and weeks. Like I'm waiting, you know, probably another week or two, we'll be in a drought or something because it is dry. No humidity whatsoever. We've been getting north winds, so the temperatures have been staying in the 70s. It's only 73 right now. No humidity, or at least very little. And everything, I mean, the lawns are dry. Flower beds are dry. We've been having to water flowers. So it's just not, so it's a little scary The fire engines were on the street below us last week, and you could smell the smoke. I don't know what was on fire. They didn't stay long. They were there long enough to hook up to the fire hydrant, but they didn't actually start, you know, pumping the water. So I guess they were able to get it out, whatever it was. But scary stuff when it's that dry. You worry about sparks coming over and, you know, igniting your property. And it's just, I can't even imagine, like, how people live like that in faith again. I know you guys deal with it all the time, but yeah, it's a little scary. So that is our finished card. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this. And you'll be able to, you know, visit my blog tomorrow. I will have links for the blog hop up. I'll also have a PDF tutorial linked up for this card so that you have all the measurements and cutting instructions and whatnot. And so I hope you join us tomorrow on the hop. That would be great. Thanks again, and everybody have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.